to our podcast. It's been great from our side that you accepted our request, to interview you in areas of project management. Could you tell our audience what your name is and what you do?
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me, Anthony. I'm John Ander Bombin. I'm from Spain. I live in the Basque Country in the north of Spain. I'm 30 years old. I met Anthony in the project management master in Dortmund.
Yeah.
I have worked as product development engineer and project manager mainly.
Yes.
In startups, in middle-sized companies, and in a big company currently. And well, I'm ready to share my experience today with you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Now, I want us to go to our first question. I wanted to know what products or what project have you been involved with?
Okay, so I started my career with some projects in startups. So we were developing wearables.
Yes.
Then I had the chance to work for 4 years in an automotive company, in a plastic injection company, where we developed parts for cars.
Yes.
And there I was working as a project manager, and currently I am working as development engineer.
Yes.
So I have my project manager with me, and I'm learning quite much from him.
Yes.
But now we develop heat pumps.
Mm-hmm.
There are some machines that heat and cool water for to use this cooling and heating in buildings.
So these machines are for the building, so that the houses are warm during winter.
Are warmed or during winter and are cooled during summer. It replaces a heat pump can replace an air conditioner and a boiler, a gas boiler.
Yes,
They can replace
this,
both,
yes.
And both machines with one machine, and it works with electricity, and they are much efficient. In fact, they are one of the it's a technology that can help quite much fight the climate change, because it's a good substitute for gas boilers, and it's quite efficient when it comes to cooling air as air conditioners. So
yes.
Cool machines.
Yeah, I know them. I never knew that. I never knew much about them. Although when I was living in Europe, most of our houses were warm like this. So that in winter it was a bit warm, and in summer it was a bit calm. So it was not so warm. So very, very nice. You say that you've been now working in different projects, like working with developing parts of an auto, part of cars, and also now this one that you explained, developing, is it parts of this heating system? So my goal was, I wanted to know, how do you plan this project as a project manager, and what kind of tools do you use?
Okay, so maybe I will speak more about the automotive projects I've worked in, because there I was the project manager. I had more chance to use the tools I wanted. So the tools I used were probably the most common ones that are taught in project management. So for the timing, for example, we used the software MS Project to create Gantt charts and share the timing with our customers, which were the automotive companies, and so that they knew what were the stages in our projects to for example, in this Gantt chart it was shown how long it would take to build the mold, the tool to build the plastic parts, how long it would take to adjust the tool. If there was an assembly machine, there would be another work package where we could say when we would start building the machine, and so on and so on. This way we could share it with the customer, and we could be aligned in regards of timing. Apart from that, internally in our company, we were using a budget for the investments. for all the costs that it would imply tooling, machines, and investments for the project, and on the other side, a budget for the product itself.
Yes, yes.
Because the cheaper it was our product, the more benefits we could get. So
yes, I agree.
this budget, we could plan it from the beginning, and we could be updating it along with the project, as we could get quotations from suppliers for the materials we could use in our parts, and so on and so on. These were two main tools. For quality, for example, in the automotive industry, it's really typical to use the FMEA.
Yes, yes. Mm-hmm.
There are different types of FMEAs. You can have a design FMEA, process FMEA, or in the company I work in currently, we have a service and installation FMEA. And in each of them, you focus on one side. So in our case, since we were a production company, we had a process FMEA.
Yes, yes.
And here we had to think about all the possible production problems we could have in our parts, so that we could set actions against them, so that they could not occur. And this way, we could not deliver flawed parts to the customer.
Yes, yes. So
this is important, automotive industry.
Yes. So there's three tools you identified, like using MS project and use the budget of the product, and also FME for quality. Did you have some ideas like like risk management tools? Did you have team, for example, resource management tools? Because I can imagine you had teams, and from there you wanted to kind of also like how do you say work breakdown structure, of how who is going to be who is going to take care of what, and then that is going to be like, so that you have an overview of what the it should look like, and you use that one.
So you know what, when I did the master in project management, I thought that the WBS, the work breakdown structure, was going to be one of the main tools I could use.
Yes.
And it is surprising how in some companies the projects are somehow always the same. Every project repeats the same pattern. So
yes.
it was curious that in this plastic injection company, there was no work breakdown structure, because always the projects followed the same pattern, and the work packages were really similar. And it can be said somehow that it was that simple for them to in this company to know what the process should be, that there was no need to create a work breakdown structure.
Okay.
In regards of the resources, for resource planning, it was a middle-sized company, and in our department we were 4 persons. So we didn't have any special tool or a resource histogram or anything like this to control the resources. It's true that sometimes, in some specific times where we forecasted some work overload, and for the vacations and so on, we did have like a resource histogram where we would forecast the amount of work each of us would have, to see if it would be necessary to hire somebody else or not, or to know that we cannot have the vacation to team members at the same time. Okay, at a certain point of the project where you will have a big workload. And for the risks, we did not have any risk matrix or any special tool to track them. What we did have was or what I did have, because it was not something of the company, but I always had for the projects an Excel sheet, a table. Some people call this tool action plan. Some people call it log of issues. But
Yes.
what I did was to, if any issue arises in
Yes.
the project or in a meeting,
Hmm.
I could write it down as a task, or if a risk would arise and something would have to be done to mitigate this risk, I could write it as a task with a responsible and with a due date to fulfill that task, and with a status to know if this task had been fulfilled, it was pending or ongoing. And this is the way in which I tracked the risks and the actions against them.
Hmm.
And it's really useful because this way you have a clear view of all the thousands of problems that and risks that arise during a project.
Hmm.
You put it there and then you share it with whoever is responsible. It regardless of it's part of your company or another one, a supplier or a customer or whoever.
But Jonande, that means were you using Atlassian?
A what? Excuse me?
Atlassian is like this also in Confluence where you can also document ID, like in Confluence you kind of document all the information about the proceedings of the project, and you can also have a task where you can say, okay, we have such and such a problem, and then you kind of who is responsible for this, so then you kind of mark someone and this message goes to them. Yeah.
Um, I don't know this Confluence, this tool you are talking about, but I did it simply with an Excel file,
Okay,
with
cool.
a table.
Mm,
That, you can also do it with plain text, like some people do it with OneNote
mm.
or even with an email. But
Yes, yes, yes,
since I wanted to have everything centralized in one file, I had
yes.
one huge file with a lot of programs.
Mm.
In another column, I was writing the project to which
Mm.
it was related to, the task to solve the problem,
Yes.
the responsible person, the date, status, and this is how I tracked it.
Yes. Now I'm interested in knowing something. Since you didn't have risk management tool, for example, was your project, the status of project always green?
No, well, most of the times was red. In fact, no, it's so not having a specific tool for it does not mean that you are not doing it. It's simply that you don't have an extra file or an extra software to manage it. But of course, you must manage it.
Yes, yes.
So, for example, we one of the things we have, which was really useful
Mm.
for risk
Yes.
management,
Mm.
was when we got a new 3D of a part
Yes.
from a customer that we had to quote because we wanted to win the project and manufacture it eventually. We had a checklist
Yes.
of things we had to check in the 3D that could suppose a risk for the project if
Yes.
we could not consider them.
Yes.
And this was like a risk database somehow. This checklist
Mm.
acted as a risk database from learnings from previous projects
Yes.
that we were taking them into account in every new project. So by going through this checklist,
Yes.
we could mitigate all the risks that we have
Mm.
learned from experience.
Yes. Yes.
So then, of course, the status of the project when problems arise, and most of the times there were problems,
Yeah, I
uh,
know.
not green always, not.
Yes, and how did you make it? How did you move the project from red, status? What did you have to do to make the project
Mhm,
status green? Because that's also very key.
mhm. So the key was to, of course, if there was a big problem,
Yes.
first step is to hold, well, if you can solve it by yourself, that's project manager perfect, but it's quite normal that you need some teammates. So you call a meeting,
Mm.
you speak about the problem, you note down the actions, And these actions, I could note them down in this log of issues or action plan I have been speaking about.
Yes.
And then doing some follow-up. So asking from time to time, how is this to the responsible person? Sometimes the responsible person was me also.
Yes.
And from time to time, we had to do follow-up and see if we could close these tasks.
Yes.
And see if these tasks would mitigate the risk or solve the problem. Sometimes it was obviously not that easy.
Yes.
And sometimes the most simple things take ages to be solved. But in this,
Yes.
yeah,
So you're saying that when you realized that the status of the project was green, it was necessary that you bring in a meeting and also identify issues that are causing the the like the project status to be red, and then you kind of like um, attached it to the responsible people, and that was not enough. You also did like some follow up to so that
exactly,
that is done and the status changed. So I think that's
exactly. A good somehow speaking how to solve the problem, agreeing it with the team, agreeing with the team who should do what for which date,
yes,
and from time to time, if the problem is big, what was done was to set a meeting with certain occurrence. For example, a weekly meeting
yes,
every Friday at 10 o'clock. We will do a meeting to speak about this problem and see how the tasks, what's the status of each task. And in those meetings, of course, it's possible that you have to steer and you have to change some tasks because maybe you are not going through the right direction.
yes,
So, but this was it.
yes.
In yeah.
There's something we talked about earlier that I wanted you to also make clear here, and that was the cost of delay. Like we were talking about, if the part of the car that you are developing, if it was not done in the right time, you said the timing for it was 2 years and a half. So if it was not done within 2.5 years, what would have been the cost also to the mother?
Okay, so regarding time, in the automotive industry, it's mandatory that that if you agree with the customer, with the automotive company, that you will deliver some parts with certain status, with good quality to some milestone.
Yes,
If you don't meet the milestone, what you will be getting is that an automotive company that is building a car with 3,000 parts around
yes,
will not get three parts. If these parts are quite visible in the car, for example, will not be able to go on with the project properly. So you are going to delay the whole project of the of the of the car or of the cockpit or of the any module of the car.
yes,
And and, and they are, in the end, automotive companies are huge monsters. They are really big. And
yes,
normally component suppliers are smaller companies, so they will make a lot of pressure over the project manager, especially to get things done and get the parts on time. And another thing that can happen is that you simply imagine you are in the middle of the project. You have, in this case, plastic injection tools manufactured, and you have already supplied the first batches of the parts so that they can assemble the first parts and see how they look in the car, if everything's working fine. And suddenly you get a problem and something gets broken in the tool and you cannot produce any part. This is the nightmare I have had sometimes, because this happens, and maybe they are going to produce 300 cars,
yeah,
and you are not able to deliver them parts. What you will make is that you will stop the assembly line somehow. So it's it's a catastrophe for for the company,
Yeah.
the plastic injection company, because you are getting the customer really angry. And if you are in serious production and you deliver a batch with a quality issue in your parts,
Mm.
and they notice it in the assembly line that they cannot assemble it due to this
Yeah.
quality issue,
Mm.
they have no more parts of, of the ones you are supplying without this quality issue. For every minute you stop the line, the production line, where that has I don't know how many hundred workers and how many automated machines and everything. This supposes a cost of thousands of euros for them per minute.
Wow.
So this in the contracts you do with them as supplier, this cost is translated to you. So this means if you deliver a float batch and you are stopping the assembly line
Yes.
for 1 hour with the cost of per minute of 6,000 euro, you may have to pay them accordingly. All the time that has been stopped their line, you will be
On
paying
you.
this money to them, which may suppose getting the company broke if this period gets big. So it's the quality in automotive industry is key. It's key. It's key
So,
during
wow, yeah. I
in the
never thought
project is
about it.
important,
Mm.
but then in serial production, it's you must have established a really robust industrialization somehow without quality issues, because else during the project you can do other things. If you are foreseeing that you will have a delay in one plastic part because the injection tool will not be built at the right time, for example, what you can do is to produce 3D printed parts if the part is not visible in the car. If it's visible, you will have to go to another technology, more expensive, to be able to supply parts, and so on and so on. But this supposes a lot of cost for the project, which makes it less profitable and not good.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that info. For me, I never thought about it like that. But since we talked about it, I see the value of quality in the automotive industry, where people expect that you deliver with almost zero tolerance, and any delay, it's counted in minutes. That for me, it's yeah, I think for project managers, we have to really learn something about it, so that when we deliver something, we take quality serious. Otherwise, if you have a company, or if you may make your company broke. So I will come to an end of this podcast for today. Thank you so much, John, for this wonderful experience and sharing with me. For our audience, this is such a nice and there's also like great experience having to learn from John. And yes, we'll keep bringing you more and more. Thank you so much, John. And that one marks the end of our session today. Let's yeah, continue next time.
Thank you, Anthony.